This podcast on rewriting our history of East Indian Indentureship, Part 2, and welcome to Rewriting Our History, Part 2. My name is Chris Kublau. This is an introspection, how we can practically, in simple, very powerful ways, rewrite the history of East Indian Indentureship. This isn't about erasing the narrative that was written about East Indian indentured servants. It's about reclaiming our voices. It's about shifting the lens from colonial convenience to ancestral truth, from silence to our story as it actually happened. Why rewrite our history? For too long, the history of indentureship has been reduced to ship manifests, sugar estates, and economic statistics. But we were never just labor. We were lovers, dreamers, builders, believers. We carried with us more than just bodies. We carried seeds. Seeds of song, prayer, language, memory. Seeds that grew into temples, traditions, and legacies of resilience. To rewrite our history is to restore depth. To honor our ancestors as more than footnotes in someone else's empire. It's about telling our story fully, fearlessly, and in our own words, in our own way. There are 7 practical ways to reclaim the narrative. The first is our libraries. Our first libraries were people. Our elders. Ask your grandparents, your parents, your great aunties about names, about villages, about festivals, journeys, struggles. Even fragments are sacred. My great-grandmother Mangri came as a child aboard the Michelangelo in 1869. My great-grandfather Ramdari Matu was just 10 when he arrived on the Oasis in 1867. And my father, the late Jaggernaut Kublau, born in 1916 in May, built a life from this foundation. I was subsequently born in 1959 in New Amsterdam, Berbice, in British Guyana. And I carry with me that legacy. These aren't just stories, they're blueprints. Blueprints of our own lives. Our ancestors were never statistics, they were nation builders. Let us honor them with living memory, not just monuments. Redefine Indian Arrival Day as reflection and resistance. Let's go deeper than cultural performance, like the Dia, for the souls that didn't make it off the ships. Gather for story circles, speak their names, teach our children not just how we arrived, but why we stayed and what we built. Rename and reframe public spaces. If our streets and schools still carry the names of colonial rulers, let's ask why. Why? Campaign for renaming. Let's inscribe our names, our heroes, onto the landscape. Rewriting history means rewriting the map. The 4th way, use art, music, and language as resistance. Chutney, Tassa, Bhojpuri, folk tales. These are not just performances, they're strategies of survival. Learn a song. Share a story, start a drumming group. Even if you can't dance, I certainly can't, you can still celebrate. Our ancestors danced in defiance. We can too. The 5th way, decolonize the curriculum, one book at a time. If you're a parent, A teacher, a student, bring our history into the classroom. Build a reading list, screen a film, host a Heritage Day, push for textbooks that include our truths, not just the British version of events. Our children deserve to know all of who they are. Our sixth way, use social media to tell the untold. Be the media. Share your family photos. Post your grandparents' names. Tell the stories the history books left out. A single reel, a single caption can be an act of remembrance. Use hashtags. Let's flood the feed with truth. The seventh way, support memorials and build digital archives. In this day of modern technology, use whatever works to expand our story, expand our horizons, get our message out there. There are ways. If your town has no museum, build one. Online, on a podcast, in a blog like I'm doing right now. Record a recipe, explain a ritual. Interview an elder. Memorials don't need marble, they need memory. And memory lives in us. Above all, never be ashamed of where we came from. Our history is not a burden, it is a birthright. What's at stake for us? If we don't tell our story, someone else will. And they have. Colonial myths cast us as docile, broken, voiceless. But we were never voiceless. We were never voiceless. We were silenced. And now, after 150 years, after 200 years, we're speaking. We are not just descendants of indentured laborers. We are the children of healers, warriors, farmers, teachers, and rebels. Our ancestors didn't just endure, they dreamed. They imagined a future. And here we are, the living answer to those prayers. Let's not let their stories, our stories, fade. So here's your invitation. Pick one action from today's episode, just one. Ask your grandmother a question. Share an old photo. Speak a Bhojpuri word. Light a diya in someone's memory. Rewriting history doesn't begin in a classroom. It begins at home. It begins with you and I. The story of indentureship didn't end with a contract. That's how it began. And it continues through us. Let's stop waiting for someone else to tell it. Let's write it ourselves. Boldly, proudly, truthfully, so that our children and their children won't just learn about us. They'll learn from us. From those who struggled, from those who built, from those who never gave up. We rose from the ashes of indentureship to become a living legacy. Let our story echo, not just in our communities, but in the world. Let it stand as a lesson in humanity.